Alright guys, thanks for jumping in.
Hi, Katie.
Hello Katie, and hello everyone else that jumps in. First time in ages that I've had someone other than myself to just waffle at. So firstly, thank you Casey for jumping on. It took long enough to convince you.
Fine. Everyone's very grateful because they're bored of your voice.
Yeah, this is fair. And before I start throwing loads of questions at you, because we've got loads of those, why don't you, for anyone that doesn't know you, introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Casey. Even if you don't hear me be called Casey because of the various other random nicknames that are flying around, but that is indeed my name. Do you want my background?
Yeah, what would you do? Like what, yeah.
So martial arts wise, that's something I have done my entire life. I'm sure, considering my dad has been nagging when the live is coming on, I assume he might be on that. Yeah, maybe not, who knows.
Not yet.
Maybe he's got other priorities now, but he started me off. He was coaching when I was, I'm going to say 4. Typically he will tell people I started off by joining the warm-up and then going and eating a Mars bar for the rest of the class. So that's kind of the start of my nutrition journey as well. And yeah, I did that all the way through my childhood. Competed at pretty high level. I've got some world titles, European titles, British titles, flying around. And then turned into an adult and decided other things were more fun, so stopped competing as much then.
My mum got on before your dad did.
Oh, that's rude. Hi mum. So yeah, I've got various titles there. Obviously that's kind of why the whole nutrition background started, was because obviously, as you'll know, in the martial arts world, in the fighters world, there really isn't a lot of nutritional information.
Yep.
Which means you kind of end up just following your coach's knowledge, which in my case was my dad.
Speak of the devil.
Dad. Or any other coaches, any other fighters around, and I realised that's quite problematic. There's a lot of issues that come with that, so that kind of prompted me, that and the need to leave my very small Lincolnshire town and move as far away as possible, prompted me to go to Newcastle to go to uni, and then Leeds to do my masters, and then that's how I ended up here. Yeah, I think that's about me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just meant just tell folks a little about you. Not the whole life story, but
you always get the life story.
Yeah, it's just fair.
You always get it all.
For anyone watching that sent in a bunch of questions for Casey, thanks, appreciate it. Gonna go through all the professional ones, and then we're gonna do all the ones that were ripping the piss out of her and various other bits.
Great.
So, yep. Eva's on. Hey Eva. So, ready to rock?
Yeah, let's go. No,
So,
I'm never ready. By the way, for anyone watching, I am not enjoying being able to see myself being recorded right now. Yeah, in case you're wondering what I'm looking at.
She's actually on 2 cameras as well. This is the thing. It's going to be a bit more awkward for her. So, start nice and simple. Favourite on-the-go snacks?
Ease. Anything that's easy. From both a personal standpoint, but also a nutrition standpoint. So, and when I say easy, I mean things that you can prepare and bring with you easy. What a lot of people make the mistake of is not preparing snacks and then finding what's easy out and about in the wilderness, which tends to be basically everything that's just packed full of shite, sorry Dad, sugar, any of those things.
He was saying, how uncomfortable do you look?
Yes. He's locked me in a little room.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like things, bananas, pretty good for pre-training snacks. They come in their own packaging, which is great. It depends really what the purpose of the snack is. So if you're, trying to increase your protein intake throughout the day, things like nuts, you can put them in a little bag, a little handful of nuts, nice and easy. Fruit tends to be a go-to for me because I don't typically eat fruit elsewhere in my day, so it's an easy snack. Get some a good amount of pre-training carbs as like a snack, not a meal, obviously. But yeah, fruit tends to be a good one. Nuts tend to be a good one. Rice cakes is a good little hit for carbs pre-training.
A little bland, but yeah.
A little bland. Depends if you put, also adding things.
Yeah.
So something like a rice cake, like, is good to add protein to it. So you could put some peanut butter on it, or some almond butter. I'm more of a fan of.
I'm on board with that part at least. So this one's going to be a bit of a broad one because the question that came in was nutrition around the menstrual cycle. Any broad recommendations? Didn't say recommendation with what in particular, so you can tackle any part of that, I suppose. Like,
life, just lock yourself in your room.
Yeah.
So broadly, and this probably is always my first recommendation for any question, so I'll try and not repeat myself every question.
Yeah.
But hydration. So most people aren't hydrated enough, and if you obviously are all of our bodily functions, not all of them, but most of them require us to be fairly hydrated. So hydration is probably the easiest thing that you can do to look after your body. An easy recommendation, but when it comes specifically to the menstrual cycle, iron-rich foods, making sure that we're having enough iron, specifically, on that day before first day of your period. So red meats, greens like spinach, pretty good. Obviously, when it comes to red meats, worth considering the positives and the negatives. So obviously, if you're having red meat, you shouldn't be having that too often. Even though you're going to get your iron, it's high in saturated fat. Things with magnesium can help with cramping, so pain. So things that if you can increase your magnesium in any way. Flax seeds, I believe, have magnesium in, so add them in if you're having like smoothies or something, or like on a salad, chuck them in. And by the way, I can't read any of the comments, it's too fast, so if there's anything that comes up, you're gonna have to
that's just people joining in, so hello to folks that have jumped in.
Hello. And omega-3 is good for inflammation. So, I mean, a lot of people will take omega-3 anyway if they're like athletes. I assume that potentially came from an athlete, so potentially taking it for things like joint pain, inflammation anyway. But obviously, when it comes to specifically menstrual cycle, it can be another thing that can be useful, whether that's supplemented or just from like salmon and oily fish. Either or is fine.
Fair. Another broad one, nutrition for PCOS. Any tips in terms of like managing?
So it's obviously fairly similar to the sort of same tips from menstrual cycle. The main difference is insulin resistance. So if you have PCOS, you tend to have a high insulin resistance, which means you're at higher risk of developing things like type 2 diabetes, but also if you have a higher insulin resistance, it's important that you pay extra attention to things like carbohydrates, high sugar foods, high sugar snacks. So just prioritizing, high in fiber when we're eating carbohydrates, eating wholemeal foods, making sure you're getting the healthy fats in that we require. Our body does require healthy fats. I think a lot of people forget that. But yeah, I think insulin resistance and just looking after your body in terms of your health and making sure you're not eating basically horrendous amounts of high sugar snacks is probably the key thing to think about.
Fair. So a nice broad one that will no doubt infuriate you as a nutritionist. Best diet to follow. Enough to make you spit out your water in rage.
Yeah, so we all follow a diet. Whatever we eat is our diet. I think that people think that a diet is something you have to go and follow. We all have a diet. It's what we eat. There isn't a best diet. There is no such thing as like a magic diet.
No carnivore then.
No, if you have anything that's like something diet, it probably is realistically, most of them are like cutting a food group out, which most of the time, 99% of the time, is not necessary, and often will have bigger health implications, so usually isn't worth doing. If you're someone that needs to follow a diet, the only one that I usually suggest looking at is the Mediterranean diet, and that's just because it follows the principle of not cutting out any food groups, but looking at reducing things like processed foods, limiting alcohol intake, being cautious of caffeine intake. I was not side-eyeing either. But also like making sure that we're eating lots of fibre, whole grains, wholemeal foods, getting our fruit and veg. So we need to get our vitamins and minerals, so eating lots of plant-based food as well, so not necessarily relying on all of your protein to come from animal sources. That has its, that's fine. You can still eat your chicken, you can still occasionally have red meat, but trying to think of where you can get those sources elsewhere. So can you add in any beans, pulses? Can you have meat-free days? So Mediterranean diet is, if I'm gonna have to suggest one, that's a good one to follow.
And kind of a follow-on to that, and again, this is something I imagine as a nutritionist you get a lot when it comes to people looking for shortcuts. What are your go-to / recommended supplements?
Well, so obviously I mentioned earlier, like omega-3 is something I take. It's not necessary if you are eating a lot of foods that contain omega-3, but a lot of people don't. So omega-3 can be a good one. Most of the time when I speak about supplements in any way, more often than not, the answer will be, can we get it from food? We already spoke about this, so you already know my answer. Like, if there is a way that we can get it from food, it's going to be cheaper, probably. It's going to be easier to get into your diet. So it's worth looking at that first. Sometimes, again, assuming that it probably comes from an athlete, creatine might be something they'd look at, purely because it can be difficult to get the right amount of creatine in your diet if you're not eating a lot of red meat. It can be difficult to get the correct amount, so you could consider that. Obviously, caffeine is a supplement. It has its place, it's useful, but it's being cautious that you're not overusing it.
You cut me another glance.
I don't think I've ever seen this guy without a coffee in his hand if he's not training.
I don't have a coffee now. I have no coffie.
He's either arm-barring someone or has a coffee in his hand.
Ooh, throw me under the bus.
So actually, if you don't want to get armbarred or choked by him, give him a coffee and you're absolutely fine.
I'll actually take that. It's like, if you're showing up for open mat later, bring me a coffee.
And you won't choke them. The only other thing I would say when it comes to athletes, I think, a couple of other things is, specifically when it comes to, so most people shouldn't necessarily need to take a multivitamin, because you should be able to get all of the correct micronutrients through your diet. However, if specific, and this is obviously more for fighters that are cutting weight, if you are making weight and you're cutting there is a chance that you aren't getting all the right micronutrients because of the cutting process. That might be the only instance that I would suggest a multivitamin, or if you've had blood panels done, and that's usually the best place to start with supplements, is have a blood panel done. If anything's low, see if it can be fixed with diet. If not, then maybe look at supplementation. Vitamin D is usually the only one that you won't be able to fix when it comes to adding things to your diet, and that's just because we get it through the sun, and unfortunately we're severely lacking sun in this country. So vitamin D is pretty important for sort of immune health. Also can be important for things like our bone health. So particularly a lot of females, especially as you're getting older, might be something you'd look at, but it's recommended that we supplement vitamin D from kind of October through to March anyway. A lot of people will supplement year round, and that's absolutely fine. So yeah.
Fair. You kind of actually dipped into the next question, which was tips for weight cutting. Do you have any other broader tips other than don't fucking cut too much weight?
Don't fucking cut too much weight is a good one. But I would say everyone that is looking at a competition weight starts way too late. So a lot of the time I will have messages from people a week out or 2 weeks out saying, "Hi, can I have some help? I'm trying to get to this weight in a week or 2 weeks." And actually, if they thought about this 2 months ago, it would have been a really easy process. It would have been, they probably could have done the cut or the, weight management with no detriment to their performance. Whereas most athletes will leave it far too late and then will cut. And then realistically, the goal of why we do the sport is to perform well.
Yeah.
And so if you're taking away your performance just for a weight cut, you need to think of is that weight cut appropriate for you, but also why didn't this start months ago?
Yeah.
And if you're someone that does a weight class sport anyway, probably sort of year-round preparation, so you're in the best possible position when you start to look at weight is probably the biggest bit of advice I would say. And also just working with someone that knows what they're talking about.
Subtle plug for yourself.
Subtle plug. But anyone, I think there's so much misinformation online, and that's realistically where people go now. So working with someone, even if that's you're not necessarily lined up for a fight, you just know at some point you will cut, you can think ahead and go, right, okay, well, what would that weight cut look like for me? Is there anything I can do to prepare year round to make that easier? And you don't have to work with, a nutritionist year round, but more than a week before is preferable, for sure.
So basically, don't do what I did for the last one and do 3 kilos in the sauna. The day before, fair.
Yeah, I mean, also, I would say actually, when it comes to weight cutting, the biggest tip is people go straight to water weight, which is wild considering the dehydration aspect tends to be what has the biggest detriment to your performance. Yeah. So using that as a tool, as the first tool, is probably not the smartest way to go. A lot of people forget actually the amount of weight you can cut using gut content. So looking at things like fibre before, sort of in that week running up to it, and looking at your sodium intake. Obviously that kind of ties into water weight, but looking at your sodium intake, looking at the carbohydrates that you're eating before. In that week running up to it, where people just jump straight to the sauna. People just jump straight to the sauna and try and just get it all off with water weight, and then you're probably going to end up not performing as well.
Can't tell what emoji Tom will put on. Tom's trolling, I think.
Is Tom trolling because I've taken his spot?
Yeah. Oh, we miss you, Tom. So veering slightly away from nutrition, Any tips for newbies to BJJ? And why did you start? Like, what drew you to jiu-jitsu?
Ooh, okay. So, like I say, I started doing, I think I spoke quite broadly in terms of martial arts. So I did mainly kickboxing, a little bit of Muay Thai, but competition-wise kickboxing for a long time. And I got to the point where I moved and was not training anymore. And now if you take something you've been doing your entire life and I ask you to remove it, so like you've been eating breakfast, I'm hoping, your entire life. If I say, right, okay, stop doing that now.
Yeah.
Like it's probably going to have quite a big impact on you, obviously, other than hunger, because you're going to be like, what's going on? This whole part of my life is missing.
Yeah.
And it's like this thing that I've done my entire life that I don't really know how to fully function without is taken away. Which obviously mental health wise has its implications. It's my outlet. It's always been my outlet. It's where my friends are most of the time. It's where I find my people. So obviously if I moved to a new location, no longer had that outlet, no longer had, you know, that same group of weird. You can't find people as weird as in a martial arts gym. Like this, just and normal people don't get my weirdness. So yeah, I knew that I wanted to try something different because I'd done stand up my entire life, and obviously I wasn't training to the same level. So I found that difficult going back to it, but without being at that level. And just wanted to try something a little new, change of scenery. BJJ has been something that people have been talking about for a little while, so I thought, yeah, let's give that a go. See what them weirdos are doing over on the floor in the corner of the gym.
Fair point.
And I guess this ties into probably tips for newbies. So I, as you know, tried a few different gyms before I came here. And none of them were quite the right fit. There was nothing wrong with them. It just wasn't quite the right fit for me. So specifically, like one gym I went to, I was the only female, which is absolutely fine. That happens sometimes when you go into a gym. But also was the only person that was in between the age of 20 and 40. Oh, maybe older, 50. So like there was a lot of young lads and a lot of old lads, and there was just no one really for me to vibe with, we'll say. So just try trial and error with gyms. So like if you're new and you do start somewhere and it doesn't feel like the right fit, it might not be the sport, it might not be BJJ, it might be the gym. So try a few different ones. You know, everywhere like has little beginners courses or trials. Trials are great. You can go try for a few sessions, see if you like it. I assume I can't see what he said, but I assume that's spitting hate in the comments.
So for those, this is gonna go on YouTube after. We won't be able to see the comments, but Casey's dad has asked if I can demonstrate my favourite choke on Casey J.
Great, thanks. Brilliant.
Maybe at the end we need you cognizant for the rest of the questions, and then when we've used you up, then I'll choke you.
Great. Brilliant, thanks.
Yeah, fair. Right, no, we got to be practical, haven't we?
But yeah, the other tip as well, I would say, is obviously, even for me, like I've grown up in gyms, it's still nerve-wracking, like the first time you walk in somewhere, and that's fine, everyone feels the same. If you can, plug for your beginner's course, and I found this really helpful, is like start on a beginner's course, because the most nerve-wracking thing is walking in and thinking you're going to be the worst person in the room, and that is going to be the case, and everyone in the gym knows that that's going to be the case if you're brand new walking in, and no one else cares other than you as the new person. Like no one else minds. It's like, great, cool, we get to help this new person, we've got a new friend. Like everyone's excited by it. So when we get a new person, we're like, yes, like one of us, new one. But if that's obviously scary to you, which I can see why it would be, is go to a beginner's course. So I started on a beginner's course, and here I am, however long later.
You're our first beginner to get to blue belt. You're the first one, so leading the charge.
Well, survival of the fittest.
Yeah. So this one I put in, right? Well, this one came in, and I was going to put it in the joke questions, but it actually led to like a reasonable question. So, how many chickens is too many chickens? Now, obviously, it seems like it's
more context.
It's obviously probably not what was referenced in there, but you've got like rabbit starvation, like, you know, protein toxicity. If you're having too much protein, which is obviously a hard marker to hit. But I'm guessing this person was asking.
Chickens, not chicken, leads me to a different question.
Yeah, this is fair. So, I mean, in terms of, if we look at it in the context of someone that was only eating lean meat, so only eating chicken and stuff like that, and they weren't necessarily getting the fat content that they maybe need, would there be, say, detrimental health outcomes to that on a too low fat diet? And what would you recommend as someone that happens to like chickens, judging by this question, if they wanted to source like fat from other sources, say other than meat, for example, where would you recommend that they would get healthy kind of spectrum of fats from?
Yeah. So, yeah, of course, if, you know, like I said earlier, we need fat. I think people forget that our bodies, literally, we require fat. For various different functions. One of the kind of key ones is obviously we have a lot of vitamins that are fat soluble, so that means that our body needs fat in order to absorb and use them. So yeah, is the short answer without going into too much detail, that we need fat. So obviously if you're eating chicken, that's absolutely fine. A lot of people like chicken, and you know, it is a good way to get protein in, but obviously just making sure you're pairing that with some other foods. So the one that's just popped into my brain is, because that's what I ate for lunch, is like avocado. You know, it's a healthy fat. It's, you know, easy to chuck in with something like, if you have, you know, chicken, you can chuck it into that meal. Obviously when you're cooking, chances are you might be using an oil. That's fine, that's encouraged. So, you know, if you're using olive oil or something, that's fine. That's a pretty good way to get some additional fat in. Yeah, I would say that there's anything, a lot of plant-based fats, so like nuts, you're going to get a good amount of protein in there, but also you're going to get some fats in there. So like, just explore different plant-based proteins that you can add in if you want to eat chicken. That's absolutely fine. As far as chickens as the animal goes, that's where my brain went immediately when you asked the question. Yeah. Well, how many chickens can you hold? Like, if they were to rebel against you, how many could you fight off?
How many chickens do you reckon you could fight? Like, fight in...
I think we've had this conversation before, weirdly.
Yeah, probably. So if you unarmed combat...
One a limb? That, like, they're quite vicious, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, one a limb, maybe a headbutt, so like 5.
Fair.
Are they at the same time, or like?
Yeah, they all just jumped you.
I'm gonna go one a limb. Like, they're pretty vicious.
So like, if 6 chickens showed up, you'd be dead.
Yeah. Plus my head. I reckon the 6th one would potentially have me.
Fair. So
which is a wildly strange answer, considering I said I'd fight a kangaroo the other day.
Yeah. So 6 chickens. Fair. So you kind of touched on this one earlier in terms of fuel for training sessions, but let's assume that you're doing a longer training session. So let's say like something that's going to go over an hour, for example. What would your fuel look like for that?
Well, so to start off with, I think just first and foremost making sure that you are getting sufficient carbohydrates in for your meal. So a good rule to go by is 1 to 4 grams per kilogram of body weight, to make sure you've got a sufficient amount of carbohydrates to fuel the session. And when you have that, it's going to be different. When and how you have that is going to be different for everyone. So usually 1 to 4 hours before. So for me, if I have it 4 hours before, I'm going to be depleted probably, halfway into the session. So I prefer it a little sooner. Some people, if they have it sooner, if they have it, that meal an hour before, they're going to get some, gut issues. They're going to potentially feel sick. So that is trial and error, I would say, in timing of the meal. But just making sure you're getting that amount of carbohydrates. Plus some protein in that meal. One thing it's worth being careful of is any fats will be slow to digest. So if it's pre-training, you just need to be cautious of the amount of fats in the meal, just because that might slow down digestion. So that's something just worth kind of having a little think about. But yeah, it depends. For me, I very much, because it's ease and I come training, like I have a very short window between finishing work and coming training. I tend to have like oats just because it's easy. I'm getting some protein in there, I'm getting some carbohydrates. It sits well with me. Some people it won't sit well with, depending on like how they cook it or how they make it, but it sits well with me. Sometimes if I'm hungrier, it might be like rice, chicken, depending on what the training session is. I might add avocado or something like that, I might not. Depends on what I'm doing in the training session, I guess. The thing with a lot of pre-training meals, I would say, is it's trial and error per person. This is the same with obviously pre-competition meals. Whatever you're planning on eating in a competition, you could trial that, have that as one of your trial meals pre-session, because you should never eat anything before a competition that you haven't trialed in training. Probably the biggest mistake I've seen in like athletes on fight day or in shows, they'll say, oh, I googled this really good like pre-fight meal. I'm like, oh cool, that's fine, and then they end up with stomach pains, they end up having some issues, they end up feeling sick, the digestion isn't there, and it's because they've not tried it in training. So depending on what you eat, we all eat quite different things, I think, generally. So just trial different things, have a look at how many carbohydrates that has in, see if there's some protein in there, and just try and add a little bit, watch how many fats, isn't it?
Fair. These two want to kind of merge into one question, right? So what do you find is like the biggest obstacle when it comes to coaching people in terms of like resistance and barriers that they maybe fight you on? And a follow-up to that, do you still take on one-to-one coaching clients?
Okay. So the biggest obstacle usually when people come to you straight off, and I think this is probably the same for anyone that works within nutrition, is common misconceptions they come with, and trying to sort of reteach that information, or if they've got existing bad habits, that so like before you're doing any of the changes you wanted to implement potentially with that person, you might need to look at like what habits they've come with and potentially having a look at those first, and if they've got any resistance to those. So if some random Andrew Tate guy on the internet that looks like he knows what he's talking about says it, the resistance against that might not be true. Let's fact check that information. There's sometimes can be little resistance with that, and I would say not having like a magic pill for them. So people sometimes come, and like I say, a lot of the time in my cases, people will come and say, hi, I've got a fight in a week, can I have a magic pill please? I need to be this way, I need to perform well, I need to also increase my muscle mass in that time.
Fair,
and they expect that it's managing expectations potentially is the biggest obstacle, because it's realistically nothing amazing is going to come fast, and people want it to. So the biggest obstacle might be misinformation, managing expectations, for sure. To
be fair, that actually covers the next question. So like the most common misconception that you come up against, but when you so for example, do you come up against any tropes, like say certain people with huge platforms pushing, say, carnivore diet or carbohydrates being bad or various other things, not even from like a performance aspect, but from like a general health aspect. But because these people have big platforms, what they say is taken, like I say, just taken as fact without being potentially fact checked. Do you find that as like, I mean, misleading at best and dangerous at worst for some of the things that are getting pushed? And is there one that really gets your back up? Is there one that you're like, for fuck's sake, I wish people would stop with this?
So obviously we all know social media is it's a great place for a lot of things. For nutrition information, that's just not one of them things. It's not one of the places. Generally speaking, 90% of the time, I would say, there's a lot of bros on the internet that potentially they might be PTs. They might not even be. They might just be like fitness influencers. And they often, and that people forget this, are being sponsored by something, and money talks. Like if someone's paying you thousands of pounds to say that this, specific protein powder or the specific diet is really good, like a lot of people will, because money talks. The main thing I would say before I jump into what I hate and what I don't, to look out for, in probably the biggest tip is, not everyone can afford a nutritionist, and the Google can potentially be a worse place for information sometimes. And if you're not someone that's particularly well versed on scientific, papers and research, and you do find social media might be the easiest place for you to get that information, is look who the person is. So don't just go on there and look at their followers, because that doesn't tell you their credentials. That doesn't tell you if they have any idea what they're talking about. It just tells you that they've got really good marketing for themselves. So go on and check their credentials. So, do they have a degree? Are they registered? Like, are they a registered nutritionist? Are they, what gives them the right to be telling you any information? And if they do have that, still fact check whatever they're saying. So, people can go on and they can find their whatever information they want, and they could give you potentially the wrong information, even if they are qualified. What I would say is always fact check it. Like, always go and do your research and see, have a quick search. Like, is there a paper on it? Is there a paper on it in the last 20 years? Is there, just like fact check a little bit whatever you're reading, if you're going to take it and implement it into your own diet, into your own body. But yeah, most importantly, just have a look who it is that you're following. And the ones that annoy me the most are usually just the ones that are telling people to do anything drastic. So like cutting an entire food group out. Usually there's no need, unless you've got a medical reason to, and a medical practitioner has told you to. You usually should never be cutting an entire food group out, entire macronutrient out of your diet. So basically anything that does that is probably going to annoy me. Yeah, fair.
And as a side note to what Casey said about people pushing things for money, if you're out there and you have something you want me to promote for money, I will do it. I will promote it for you. So in terms, so this one, I suppose, in terms of diversity. So if I only ate pasta with pesto, tuna, cheese, and maybe a multivitamin, would I get unwell?
Yeah. I would imagine you would. To start off with, likelihood when you say pasta with cheese and pesto, it's going to be probably white pasta. So, start off with there. Where's your whole grains? There is none. Cheese obviously is an animal product. Yes, there's some fats in there, but quite high in saturated fats. So again, not so good for our health. Pesto is, it's fine in small amounts, very, very calorie dense, which I think people potentially don't always know. We had a conversation about like when you start tracking, you get shocked about you know how calorie dense some foods are without realizing, especially something like pesto, which is like one of the foods that I think you might see a lot in like wellness cafes and stuff, you know, like something with pesto on. But you know, it's all well and good, that's fine, you can have it. It just is important to be aware of the density of the calories in there. And actually, you could have given me any food and I would have said you probably would not do so. You maybe wouldn't get on well, but you wouldn't be well if you were to eat the same food all day, every day. And this goes for literally any food, because if you're someone that eats super habitually and you eat the same food day in, day out, you probably are missing something from your diet. Like, it's really hard to set one day and get absolutely all of the micronutrients you could ever need in the right amounts through like a few foods. It's almost impossible. So one of the biggest things when it comes to diets is making sure you have variety, making sure that you change what you're eating, but also just like through enjoyment. Like, we should be able to enjoy food, and if you're eating the same, you know, pasta every day, all day, you probably are not gonna have the best relationship with food. So I know that was a jokey question, but that's an actual answer to it. To answer your question that I didn't answer earlier as well, so I have not been taking on new nutrition clients for a while, because I have been working on some other things. I've been prioritizing my time elsewhere. However, I have still continued working with existing clients, specifically more fighters. In my day-to-day job, I work in health, essentially, is the easiest way to put that. So I work in health in a variety of ways. So do a lot of sort of health nutrition as opposed to sports nutrition, which is obviously where most of my expertise lie. But I will be taking on new clients soon. So if anyone does need any help nutrition wise, just send me a message and we'll talk.
Sweet. I'll put your tag up in here, but for anyone watching this live, if someone wants to find you, to get in contact with you, what's the best way? Instagram is the best way. So I will accept, it is private, but I will accept it. It's just so I can get rid of the weirdos. It's just so I can get rid of the weirdos. But yeah, if you just follow me on Instagram, I'll accept you as long as you are not that weird. It's just Casey Jade Marshall. I do have a nutrition page, which I neglect highly, CGAM Nutrition, which I likely, now I have a little bit more time, will probably start trying to post on again. Maybe, we'll see. Fair. Well, hopefully this will get my next weight cut going a bit more smoothly.
There we go.
So, now for the fun stuff, right?
This is actually what I was more nervous for.
To be fair, this stuff, at first, these are rapid fire ones to ease you in, but then we've got some disgraceful questions coming in. So, these are basically this or that type questions. Okay. So, favourite food just popped up first. So that's a nice easy one for you to start.
Seafood.
Salmon, fair. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Ghee or no ghee?
No ghee. I got smashed in ghee once and I won't do it again.
Chicken or steak?
Chicken. Okay, taste-wise, steak. But I don't eat it much.
Okay, fair.
I eat chicken quite regularly.
Fair. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset. I'm not really a early bird.
I was going to say, you don't wake up before noon, do you?
I don't see sunrise that much.
Fair. Favourite film?
Ooh, that's a good question. Divergent? Have you ever seen it?
I haven't actually.
Yeah, look it up. I don't think it's super well known, but it's a good film.
Fair.
I read the book first. It was the first book I ever read all the way through, and then I watched the film. Maybe that's why I like it.
Fair. Favourite song?
Noah Khan. Any of his songs, really. Stick Season. In fact, that was a big lie. Stick Season.
Fist bump or handshake?
Fist bump.
Yeah. You can't really have a bad fist bump.
No.
But like, if someone gave you a handshake, like
formalist.
like that. Yeah. See, like you can't go wrong with a fist bump, can you? It's like
unless I leave you hanging.
Yeah. Just leave me here with my fucking hand just floating around. Shower or bath?
Shower. Baths weird me out.
Any secret talents?
Loads. So many.
Want to pluck one out?
I mean, running joke is I think I can do anything. And I told the group chat the other day that this came from the being able to fight a kangaroo conversation. If my dad's still on here, I don't think he is, but let's pretend he doesn't hear this, because what comes from having very supportive parents that tell you can do anything is you literally think that. So as an adult, when someone's like, do you think you can do a front flip?
Yep. Yeah,
sure, I'll try.
Literally the other week. So fair.
But the worm, I think, is my party trick. I can do the worm.
Yeah, that actually does cover another question later on, to be fair. Vegan or carnivore? If you had to be one.
Vegan.
Yeah, I was thinking this earlier. Like, as much as I would prefer to eat all the meat, I would probably die.
Yeah, like...
I prefer to be...
Sustainability wise as well. So, not to bring it back to the serious questions, if you said, like, what's the best diet, anything that's sustainable, and I just don't think the carnivore health wise is sustainable, or actually for anything else, but vegan is the answer.
I would say, like, when the choices are, right, live miserably as a vegan, which I would, because it's fucking miserable, or die, I would choose to live miserably, like,
Well, hopefully.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, a miserable life, just, eating rabbit food is better than no life, I suppose.
Yeah. That is essentially what you're choosing between there as well.
Yeah, pretty much. Right. Now for some questions for you. And again, you want to do these anonymously, but you can probably guess who somebody's come from. Casey Jade, is it your dad you have to thank for such sick fighting skills?
I'm going to take a guess and say that that's from my dad.
It might have been, but I can neither confirm nor deny.
Well, yeah, maybe there's a percentage there. Like, realistically, I suppose yes, because I wouldn't have started if my dad hadn't forced me to when I was 4. So all I wanted to do was eat Mars bars, and here we are. So yeah. I was going to
say, coming from like a martial arts family, how much did that kind of play into? How much of it do you feel was almost expected of you, or how much do you want to emulate your dad's? Like, was it a bit of both? Like, I mean, at that age, it's hard to kind of know, really, right?
I just didn't know anything else. Like, you know, like I say, when you're introduced to things as a child, you're just like, okay, this is what we do. I go to school and I go to the gym. Like that you just accept that's what you do. So yeah, I just accepted that as part of my lifestyle, and now it's something that I think I would find difficult to live without. So there is obviously the level of expectation as well, and I never had any particular intentional pressure put on me from, like, my parents were very like, if you want to quit, if you want to change sport, you can do that, that's absolutely fine. Like, I could do whatever I wanted in that aspect, but I think you have a natural level of, like, you see how proud you make your parents and your family and those around you when you do well at your sport. So naturally you put that on your own shoulders, and you want to do well to make them proud. So not from them, but for sure there was definitely, when I was fighting, especially at a higher level, that little bit of, like, I feel like I have to. But I always enjoyed it. I never didn't, and I wouldn't have. I don't think my parents would have let me do it if I didn't enjoy it. Evidenced by the fact of when I was younger, I have always been a cheeky shit. I know that might surprise you.
Flabbergasted.
But instead of being grounded from like going out and playing with my friends or having a game like a games console or going on the computer, I was banned from going training.
Yeah. Fair.
So probably broke my dad to do that, but like if I was really, really cheeky, he would stop me from going training that night, and it meant I couldn't see that's where my friends were.
Yeah.
I couldn't, do what I enjoyed. So yeah.
That was actually a surprisingly insightful answer, considering the question was more of like a piss take. But follow-up question to that. Casey Jade, can you beat your dad in a fight?
Yeah.
This is where you like pull out your full like his wrestling is 0, his ground is 0. Like.
Literally, I'll just pull guard.
Yeah, fair. See you.
He's also old now. So
I'm sure I'm like closer to your dad's age than your age.
I have called you old so many times already in the last 24 hours.
Rude. Another anonymous one for you. Casey Jade, is it true that you started your athletic career in ballet?
This is true.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's absolutely no context behind that. I think my mum thought it was pretty and cute for me to do ballet. I think I started when I was like 3, like before kickboxing, so it must have been very much like as soon as I could walk.
Yeah.
There's some real cute little videos of me and my little tutu. And yeah, I did a few little ballet, dance, gymnastic competitions when I was younger. Must be why I'm so elegant now, but
I find it's hard to believe, considering like.
Yeah, well, there we go.
Yeah, well,
if you hunt far enough, there's pictures of me in a pink tutu somewhere. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
If you're still on here, please send some of those so we can share them. That'll be fucking amazing. A no context one. Why are you so aggressive? Only votes we see those videos as well.
I mean, I went from ballet, got introduced to kickboxing, and
ballet picks are available upon request.
realised how much more fun it is to be aggressive than elegant. So fun.
Good point. Who's your favourite role? Ooh, this one's someone's trying to make you play favourites in the gym.
My favourite role is Katie, I think. Because I feel like she's good. I hope she's not watching because I'm going to compliment her.
We'll see.
So with Katie, she was one of the first girls that I rolled with outside of the beginners course. So was one of the people that like brought me in and made me feel quite safe to be in the gym. I feel quite safe rolling with her as well. She's not, she's not someone that like goes around injuring everyone. So I know that I'm not going to come away with like a broken arm, but also it's fun watching how she reciprocates my aggression.
Yeah,
I love that. I thrive off of that.
It is like chaos. Highly offended. My spazzy white bottomness is elite. Says Amy. Kind of a follow-up. This one's a bit more of a serious one, I suppose. But what's your opinion on rolling with guys? Do you have any rules that you follow? So, for example, this one come from Katie. I'll pick a higher weight, a higher experience, similar weight sort of guy. Like, do you generally like just avoid like? From my point of view, and obviously this is yours to answer, but I would say like when we get new women in, I generally don't put them with white belt guys because that's the most likely scenario they're going to get injured. But when you yourself are rolling with guys, like who do you look to roll with and why?
So yeah, higher belt guys for sure, because I mean it's the same with higher belt girls, I guess, as well, is you're less likely to get injured. Like you don't want to go to training and come back injured. So but it's also like just getting to know guys that you can roll with well. So there are some white belts that I really enjoy rolling with. People that are aware of their own strength. So there are some guys that certainly I don't think are aware of their own strength, and that shows when you're rolling with them. there's a clear physiological difference when you're rolling with a guy to a girl. And so, yeah, just someone that's a little bit aware, and someone that isn't scared to get subbed by a girl. I think if someone's got an ego and they're like scared to be subbed by a girl, or scared to look like they're even though it's training and there's no win, there's no lose, like some guys think there is. Same with girls in the gym. Someone that like isn't scared to tap, because the issue is if they are and you potentially might sub them, they might do something dangerous to make sure that doesn't happen. So yeah, more than someone without an ego, more than anything. It's
a good shout for any girls starting. It's pick your roles carefully, because like I say, like a lot of time it's not even vindictiveness, it's just carelessness is one of the bigger causes of injury. Like people just throwing their weight around. But again, ego is one that you have to watch out for. Ask
the other girls as well. Like if there's guys I don't know, I'll usually just ask the girls, like, how are they to roll with? And the girls, especially in our gym, will tell you, like,
don't roll with that one.
Don't roll with him. Or I mean, to be honest with you, there isn't many guys like that in our gym. And if they are, you know about it. About them.
I think like if there were people like that in the gym, they'd get rooted out pretty quickly and generally tuned up.
Yeah, I think quick. Our higher belt guys are quite. I hate the word like mat enforcer. It sounds awful, but we do have some guys that are like pretty good mat enforcers, and it's probably the same in like most gyms, in the fact that if there is a guy that's clearly going around like injuring all of the like lighter guys, lower belt guys, females, they probably are gonna get fucked up by one of the better guys at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
Or someone like Emma will probably just snap their arm.
Yeah, also fair. And your dad's been sweet. He says, on a serious note, big shout out to Costa for taking Casey into his fight family. It wasn't planned. She just hung around. In fairness, like,
she wasn't invited.
Yeah. She just can't get rid of her now. It seems a great gym. It definitely is a great gym, to be fair. Turn out great fighters. But keeps that family friendly feel. It does, to be fair. That is one thing I'm quite proud of. Like the fact that you're known as like the gym dickhead, and you take that with like
weird, that Dad, isn't it? How that's travelled.
Yeah. Like,
it's followed me.
Who saw that coming?
Like I say, I trialed a lot of gyms, and the only reason I stayed here was honestly, nothing to do with the coaching.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
No, I'm joking. It was just like the welcomeness and the like, everyone just takes you in and takes you under their arm. And yes, I've been known as the dickhead at every gym. Thank you. And
I am shocked.
Yeah, not to big you up, because we all know that I hate to compliment people to their face, but obviously you were just very, nice and friendly. And sometimes coaches, especially like you going in, if someone's like a high grade and they're like really good, that it can be a bit like daunting and scary, but I think you're just like very down to earth and chilled out guy, which helped. The classes are very relaxed. That's more my vibe. Like I'm not super traditional, I don't think, in how I like to train. Like I like to have a laugh. That's part of the reason why I train now. Like I'm not training to be a world champion anymore. I'm training to have fun and see my friends. So
fair. Can you teach me how to worm? So I didn't ask this one, but I will actually ask. Yeah, can you teach me how to worm? And whoever, I can't remember who asked this, but can you teach us all how to do the worm?
Yeah. We'll set a class up. We'll set a class up.
Watch this space. I'm going to be doing the worm. If I learn how to do the worm, I'm not even exaggerating.
I don't know if you can do the worm.
Why not?
I don't know. I've seen you try to do the head front flip.
Well, I'm close on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
How
long has that taken you to get close to, though?
Numerous years.
I was closer after 2 goes, was it?
Yeah, see, this is how the gym dickhead has followed you around. If I could do the worm, it's in with a serious chance of becoming my primary mode of transport. Like, I would just go everywhere, buy worm. It'd be fucking amazing.
Down the stairs.
Yeah, I would worm down the stairs, worm up the stairs. It'd be amazing. You see me going down Dewsbury High Street to Lidl doing the worm. It'd be spectacular.
Yeah, let's set up a class.
So this one, you don't necessarily have to answer, seeing as your dad is watching. However, if you had to take one for the team and bang one dude,
brilliant.
Which male celeb would it be?
Who put this in?
I can't even remember who sent that.
This is a good question. It would be taking one for the team.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, back to the dark side.
So I had a crush on, going back to my favourite movie, the guy from not Diversity, what's his name? Divergent, yeah. Not Diversity, that's a dance group. My dad is on.
When you take Katie on a mud run, oh yeah, that's a good question.
Wait, let me answer.
Okay.
So, the main guy from that, if you've not watched the movie, watch the movie, and then just because he's cool, and I was like probably 16 when I watched it. Just a cool guy. That's my answer.
When you're doing a Spartan race?
This is a good question.
Yeah.
I haven't run in a really long time.
You'd be fine.
Maybe.
Fair.
Maybe. You have been nagging me for a long time to do one.
Yeah.
So.
Well, literally last year, so if anyone watching this, I ran 3 races in one weekend, 20k, a 10k and a 5k. The 10 and the 5 on the same day, so it sucked. And I was supposed to have a whole team to come with me, and none of them came with me. So I did it by myself. You know how flipping miserable it is to run. But ended up being, 35 kilometres by myself?
In all fairness, I never suggested that I would.
Yeah, I realised I said that quite accusingly at you. It wasn't you that bailed.
I just want everyone to know I didn't bail. I never said I would join.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, maybe I will.
You did a 20-mile rat race.
I did do a 20-mile rat race.
See, you can run.
So I did a 20-mile rat race with a total amount of training of 1 7-mile run.
I did a marathon the same way. It was fucking awful. Really awful.
And I regretted it massively after. So I probably won't do a 20-mile one again.
Yeah.
Or maybe I might train for it if I was to do it again. But I don't know. You're my PT now, so add running and Spartan things to my program.
I think it'd be fine. Who do you miss the most, Claire, Nicole, or Phoebe?
Ooh. Who wrote the question?
That
might depend on my answer.
I can't remember which one of those sent it. It was one of those 3, and I can't remember which one it was.
Oh, this is a really good question. Well, all of them. There is absolutely, you all have your own individual benefits to my life.
So basically we're saying that all 3 of them should come back, really?
Yes.
Yeah, fair.
I have already told them that they should do the next Beginners course again.
Yeah, they should. So for those of you that are not part of the gym, the next 2 questions came in from people in our gym. They were shag, marry, kills, about people specifically in our gym. So it's not going to mean anything to a bunch of you. And it will probably upset some people in our gym. So you don't have to answer these if you don't want to. However, I'll present them to you.
Might not. Okay, go on.
So it was shag, marry, kill, Katie, Ella, or Amy?
This is a really good question. Right, who am I going to kill?
Get it.
Start off with. I want to marry all of them. They're all lovely. But if I ended up killing someone, I think it would be Ella accidentally. I might accidentally kill Ella.
Fair.
Who would I want to marry? I don't know. I think me and Amy are a bit troublesome together. So I don't know that we should spend that much time together.
Fair.
Katie, I think, would be good marriage material. Who knows? Maybe that's because she's got dogs. Oh wait, no. So does Ella. I've already killed Ella. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's go.
I'll marry Katie for dogs, and Amy, you might get killed too. Sorry.
Fair. Second one that came in for the boys: shag, marry, kill, Buckle, Costa, or Adam. And this is tattoo ad was specified.
Can I just tattoo ad? So we've had this. I imagine this came from Buckle.
Ding ding.
Because Ad is too lovely to probably asked me that question.
Yeah.
Now, Buckle, I think, put this because I said before that I would marry him over you because he can put a shelf up.
Fair.
And you definitely couldn't put a shelf up.
Fair.
But now you've thrown Ad into it. Ad is the loveliest. So I'm going to... Buckle's been thrown back out, and I reckon... Ad, you're in. Ad's tapped in.
Fair.
I don't know, so I'd probably kill you both.
What?
I don't know. I'd let you fight to the death for me.
I feel like I've been downgraded for no reason here. I haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah, that's my answer.
Fair. So me and Buckle on the chopping block, Ad getting married. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
You two can kill each other. I don't have to kill either of you.
Fair. I mean, I would definitely kill Buckle. What obstacles did you have to tackle to get back into martial arts? Obviously, you had a time.
What a change of question.
I know, right? No, it's a proper change of fucking pace.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it's obviously having time out from training, going back to it. What kind of obstacles did you have to tackle?
The motivation to not just get back into my bed after work every night was probably the main thing, because I think once you get like I say, it's always been my routine, and when you get, and this is the same with any routine, when you get out of the routine, it's really hard to get yourself back into it. So literally as soon as I sorted the routine back out, that was the main thing, and finding somewhere that I felt comfortable was the other obstacle, and that was just trial and error of gyms and coaches.
Yeah. So subtle flex, we got to stick around because coaches.
Yep, that's it.
Would you rather be able to talk to animals or fly?
Ooh, fly, because then I could just fly on holiday for free. I want to go to Australia. Off I go.
That'd be kind of cool, to be fair.
Assuming I can long distance fly like a bird.
Yeah, not just there for convenient little
not
distances.
just levitate.
Yeah, fair.
That's
fair
useless.
How long did it take to get your strength back? I'm guessing that is from not training. Did you find?
So I'm back into specific. So I never fully stopped doing exercise is the thing. So I always did some form of exercise. Obviously, the type of exercise is very different to martial arts specifically, but one of the main things is when I started BJJ, the strength that you need is very different to the strength that I had from... I mean, obviously some of it is, is helpful, but the strength that I had from kickboxing and Muay Thai is very different to the strength that I found for BJJ. There's no definitive end answer there, so that you don't just complete strength. I think it took me, the fitness was the main thing, so it's still something that I'm improving now. And how long have I been doing BJJ for now? When was
over
a year and a half.
About that, yeah.
A year and a half. And I would say it probably took, at least 3 months to be able to consistently do open mats without being dead. Because it's a different type of fitness, a different type of the energy that you're exerting is very different to stand up or doing weights in the gym. But it's a gradual thing. I think the training's different as well. It's a hard answer really. There's no definitive end there, but it's going to take a few months to get into it and feel comfortable doing rounds back to back, and your muscles to not feel I was when I restarted doing BJJ. I would come away with DOMs after training, as if I'd been doing weights for a few months at least. I would say. Even after big open mats, maybe even up to 6 months. Now from rolling, I don't get DOMs or anything, so that does go away after a while.
Good. People. Actually, this is something we haven't actually covered. Which I'm actually fucking surprised we haven't. People are aware that you have bionic legs fully of metalwork. Did it take time to build strength back up? But still. So wheelchair and crutches. And came to the gym. There we go. Came to the gym in wheelchair and crutches.
Yeah.
So yeah, why don't you talk to people about your.
So yeah, I think it's something that like probably a lot of the people that I'm closer to here know, but certainly not everyone at the gym. It's not something that comes up in conversation that commonly anymore. But yeah, so about when I was like 15, I think, I had surgery on both my legs. So I used to have a lot of knee pains when I was younger, and my knees would give way, like while I was training, just from underneath me. I had a nickname for a little while, Bambi, because my legs would let go. And they basically realised that my hips were internally rotated. So they chopped my femurs in half. They turned the bottom part of my leg, I believe it was like 40 degrees outwards. I now have plates along the side of my leg and 6 screws in each leg. So yeah, I am bionic. You couldn't break my femur bone if you tried, I reckon. But yeah, that was obviously like a long time ago now. 10, 13 years ago, something like that. 12 years ago. Can't do math. I have no idea how old I am. But yeah, that obviously took a long time. I don't think I ever... So my knees are much better. I can train much better. I don't get like the same pain that I used to. But obviously I had like a year where I didn't properly train. I would turn up to the gym in my wheelchair or on my crutches and bobble around just to see everyone. I learned nunchucks while I was in my wheelchair.
That's pretty cool.
Just for something to do, because I used to do like you know what a bow staff is, like a long stick that you throw around. I used to do that when I was younger. I obviously couldn't do that sat in a wheelchair, so I decided to learn how to do nunchucks. Another secondary random skill that I have while I was in the gym. But yeah, I was out in a wheelchair and on crutches and back and forth because I had one leg done and then the other for like a year. So that took quite a long time to get back into everything. However, I'm sure Dad will be able to put into the comments, I believe after my second leg recovering, I competed in the European Championships just because of timing, like 6 months after I started training again. So when I came back, I competed in that, and I think I got a medal. I can't remember exactly how I did that. Yeah, but I came back and trained for 6 months, and then I went and did the European Championships, which was...
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's such a fucking mad, invasive, huge surgery to recover from as well. Like
yeah.
Especially at that age as well, you know.
Yeah, I can't remember like the ins and outs of all the timings and the recovery and everything. I remember having really shocking physio. They really like I don't think I ever had proper physio from it, because it was just some random like physio that told me to put weight on my leg. I remember not being too impressed with the physio that I got afterwards.
Fair. Oh yeah,
which is a shame, but we're here now. Yeah. They're all right. They carry me. They take me to where I need to go.
You made it. So final one that we had in. This one is thoughts on. Well, I guess we can put this direct to yourself. Like, where do you feel like you get the most in terms of your development? Be it like classes or open mats. Do you think there's a place for both when it comes to development, like your own learning? What do you think are like the benefits of both?
So, and you will probably be able to put some emphasis onto this, but I forget everything I learn in class. If I don't practice it in roles, so in terms of the information being absorbed, I think that takes place in open mat because it's the repetitiveness. If I do something once in a class, that's where the learning is, like that's where I'm learning things and techniques, but like until I've drilled that and put it into different scenarios in open mat, like it won't be absorbed into my brain and I won't remember to do it when I'm maybe, you know, competing or like having harder rounds in open mat. So a mixture. I think you have to do both.
Yeah.
Like you can't just come to open mat and have no skills and just like throw your weight around. That is pointless. So I think you need both.
Yeah. While that was going on, your dad pointed out that you got gold in continuous and bronze in points after that.
Yes. I told you my secretary, aka my dad, would know.
But yeah, I agree with you on that. Like, I feel like if you just drill and you don't roll, you're not going to develop. Which is, as a coach, it's one of my biggest bugbears. People that avoid rounds and don't go to roll and stuff like that. It's just because, like, I get it. Like, it can be nerve wracking but people get in their head like, oh, I'm going to lose. You don't lose open mat. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, you learn. It's not competition. You're not doing it for a medal. So,
I mean, I think that so you say like out of the beginners, like I was the first person to get a blue belt. I think that was probably largely to like I've recently been injured, so I've not been at open mats too much, which has made me sad. But I think to start off with, I jumped into open mats quite quickly. Buckle made me cry on my first open mat, if anyone was wondering.
Yep.
I'm not going to give any context as to why he made me cry, but for those that know Buckle, no. You know. So, what was I saying?
Before we throw Buckle under the bus, you were talking. You were one of the. You were the.
Oh yeah. So I started doing open mats. I think that probably helped the development of my techniques quite a lot because I was practicing them in open mats and also like rolling with upper belts. So like I ended up partnering with Emma a lot, much to probably Emma's disappointment because she was a brown belt, I was a white belt. So she was probably, not getting a lot out of that, but like I always would take a lot away from, she would catch me with subs. I would go, oh yeah, don't put your arm there. Don't put yourself in that position. And you learn like not what not to do, but also like a lot of the upper belts will catch you with something and then will, show you what they did or how they caught you, which I think you learn a lot from. So yeah. Yeah.
So if you're watching this, get your asses to open mat. Don't skip it.
Well, it's fun as well.
Exactly.
Get to practice.
Yeah. That was the final question, and we need to go and make you pick up some heavy shit.
Yes.
So, for everyone that jumped in, thanks for that, and thanks for all the questions. Thanks for Case for taking the time to jump on and chat nutrition and general shit with us for a while. It's been nice to have someone on with me rather than just talking at the void. So yeah, you're welcome back anytime to come and just chat shit. Obviously, I won't rinse you for nutrition anytime you pop on because people got to pay. So if you want some nutrition advice, get in touch with Casey, but pay her some fucking money. Don't be tight. Which is a barrier for a lot of nutritional coaching because a lot of people just think, oh, well, I have to pay for that? Yes, you fucking have to pay for that. So pay the lady some money if you want some nutritional advice. But obviously, thank you for coming and giving out that advice for people without getting paid for it. It's
absolutely fine, anytime. Like I say, the questions and the answers that we went through, they're very generalized. So when you work with obviously a nutritionist, it's very specific to you. You go through everything in a lot more detail. Generally, general nutrition advice is only going to help you a little. It's not going to help you a lot. So yeah, hit me up for the more specific advice, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, this is not going to stay on Instagram, folks, but it is going to go up on Apple and Spotify. So please like and subscribe, because if you do that, then people are more likely to pay me money to plug their shit, which I will do for money for anyone watching this. So if that needs re-specifying, I will plug your shit for money. But obviously, if you like, subscribe, and share, that will help. In terms of building the channel, but also helping me get paid, making bank. This will go up on YouTube as well. I haven't been putting the solo ones up on YouTube because there's only so long people wanted to stare at just me. But now I've actually got someone else chatting. We can put a video up on YouTube for the first time in fucking ages. So thanks for everyone that jumped in on this. We'll catch you all at the next one. Potentially with me, potentially with Tom, potentially with Casey if I can convince her to jump in again as like a Tom replacement until Tom comes back.
You just start calling me Tom.
Yeah. You should be like our backup Tom, basically. But yeah, let's go pick up some heavyweights and shit.
Let's do it.
See you later all.